Buckle up, Eagles fans. The time has come. Eagles, Cowboys, it's Sunday Night Football. A battle for first place in the NFC East. A chance for the Eagles to go 6-0 with the whole league watching. The Birds' top offense will face a destructive Dallas defense. The Link is ready to rock. Welcome to the Kickoff Show presented by Little Caesars. I'm Ella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy. Feels like it's been a long week waiting for Sunday night.
Long week. It's been a long day. We're getting ready for this football game, but we have got to be excited for what the Eagles are about to put on display. Sunday Night Football, prime time, Eagles-Cowboys. Doesn't get any better than this.
It doesn't. The Eagles have played one other NFC East team in the Washington Commanders a little earlier in the season. The Cowboys will be the second they face here tonight. Let's take a look at the NFC East standings as they are right now. The Eagles, of course, at the top at 5-0. The Giants moved to 5-1 today after a big win against the Ravens. And the Cowboys, they're just chomping at the ankles, trying to make their way to first place, sitting at 4-1.
Yeah, and a lot of those losses you see there in the right-hand column have come at the hands of other NFC East teams. So when you look around the NFL right now, the NFC East, best division in football, we're going to see who reigns supreme here at the end of this game.
Well, this Eagles offense, they rank second overall in the league against the 7th-ranked Cowboys defense. This right here, Fran, to me, is the game.
Yep. Yeah, no question. I think when you look at this, this is a matchup of two elite units on either side of the football. The Eagles offense, Ella, when you look at the numbers, and I was shocked to see this stat earlier this week. The Eagles, just the second team in the Super Bowl era, right? A long, long time. A lot of football being played, a lot of teams playing football every single year. The second team in the Super Bowl era to reach 2,000 yards with 2 turnovers or less in the first 5 games of the season. The only other team to do that, Andy Reid's Kansas City Chiefs a couple of years ago in 2017. This offense is efficient. They are explosive. They are doing it on the ground. They are doing it through the air. The versatility of this offense, it comes to fruition each and every game. The explosive plays, they're leading the NFL right now in those big chunk gains. And again, they're doing it both with the run game and the pass game. It's going to be a lot for this Dallas defense to handle under the lights at the Link.
Averaging just short of 420 total yards per game. Last week was just the first game all season that they didn't reach 400 total yards of offense. And you mentioned those takeaways. Actually, Dallas and the Eagles are tied for fewest takeaways in 2022 with 2. So both teams playing very clean football. Now, Cowboys' DeMarcus Lawrence made some comments this week in the locker room when asked about Hurts and the Eagles' success. Well, they quickly gained traction on social media. Nick Sirianni was later asked if the team uses bulletin board material. Here's what Coach had to say.
Yeah, I'm not really into bulletin board material, to be quite honest with you, because our greatest motivation is to play for each other, and this team loves each other, right? This is what is making this team a special team, is that they're in it for each other and they're in it to, not let each other down, to play for each other, and that's why we're in it as coaches, right? To put our guys in positions to help them play great, and that's the motivation we need. Is just, hey, for each other. Like, I don't want to let Jalen down. I don't want to let Fletch down. I don't want to let, right? And then that's a contagious thing, right? Or when all the guys want to play for each other and not let that, and that's when it's a special thing. And hey, DeMarcus Lawrence is a great football player, and we're going to have to be ready for where he is, no matter where he is on the field. So we know how good of a football player he is, and how good of a defense this is, for that matter. So, but we're playing for each other, and that's our greatest motivation.
Jason Kelce is more than familiar with this storied rivalry. He explained the importance of this game, the rivalry, and shared the team's mentality going into this matchup.
Huge game, rivalry game, but I thought Nick had a great message in here. Obviously there's going to be more energy for this game. It's a huge rivalry. It's a big game for our division, Sunday Night Football. But man, we're in this position because of what we do. It has nothing to do with the teams we play. It's how we prepare, how we practice, how we play for each other. I think that, you don't want to make the opponent the focus. You want to make your teammates and your own self the focus. And so, we know it's a big game. We're excited to play the Cowboys, but more than that, I think we're excited to continue to grow and play with each other.
That seemed to be the consistent message all week long from players and coaches. They know the opponent, they know what Sunday night means, but it was kind of a let's look within all week and let's focus on what's going on inside this building right here.
Yeah, and this week on Eagles Game Plan, which, by the way, you did an outstanding job of hosting this week in place of John Clark. Mike Quick, he dropped it right at the end of the show. He said his favorite memory between the Eagles and Cowboys was not a specific play, was not a specific game. It was more so going onto the field in the tunnel before his first Eagles-Cowboys game and looking to his left and seeing Harold Carmichael, the Hall of Famer, with tears streaming down his face. And he was like, oh, that's this kind of game. And I feel like that's ingrained now in all of these Eagles teams. This is a multi-generational rivalry. It's not just felt by the fans. The players feel it. The players know it. That's going to carry over into this game. A huge matchup with huge ramifications, not just for this year, but this is bragging rights that carries over, again, generation after generation.
I love that he said he had to tighten up the chin strap just a little bit more because I think he realized what was just about to happen. Well, Jalen Hurts has had just 2 chances as a starter against the Cowboys. His last shot came in week 3 last year in Dallas. A big loss for the Birds. But Hurts is a different player now. This is a different offense. He is a different leader, a different quarterback, and you know he's going to want to get that monkey off his back and get a big win against the Cowboys tonight.
Yeah, 0 for 2 so far as a starter. 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. We all remember how bad that game was in week 3 down in Dallas last year. And that's the thing. Both of these starts, they've come on the road down there in Jerry World. This is his first time as a starter taking on the Cowboys in the home confines of Lincoln Financial Field. The big test here for Jalen Hurts in this game, though, Ella, is going to be the pressure that Dallas brings and then also the disguise that they show on defense. They do a good job of mixing things up from a coverage standpoint to try and confuse the quarterback. It will be up to Jalen Hurts to read things, not just pre-snap, but post-snap in this game.
Now, the Dallas defense has allowed just 1 touchdown to a running back this season. For a group that leads the NFL with 12 rushing touchdowns, 6 of those coming from their quarterback, the running backs are going to have their work cut out for them today, Fran.
Yeah, no doubt. To me, I think that there will be opportunities there for Miles Sanders, for Boston Scott, for Kenny Gainwell in this game. Because watching this Dallas defense as much as I have this season, yeah, they haven't given up many touchdowns for sure. But when you look at the big plays that they've allowed, they're actually lead the NFL in explosive run rate on defense. They are giving up 10-yard rushes at a higher rate than any defense in the entire league. So when I look at how those runs happened, there was a lot of perimeter plays. There was a lot of those plays to the outside, those pin pull schemes that the Eagles run so well. I think those are on the table tonight. Some of those quick hitting runs between the tackles, I think are on the table tonight because those usually work against aggressive defensive fronts. I think when you look at this Eagles and how versatile they are with the rushing game, I think that really plays into their hands. I expect a big run game here from the Eagles on Sunday night.
When we talk about the run game, it starts with the big boys up front. And as we take a look at these offensive starters, it feels good to see left tackle Jordan Mailata back in the lineup. It was crucial to get him back for this game, and it's good to see him healthy and ready to go.
And you know why having the starters in there is so critical against the Cowboys, Ella? Not just from a talent standpoint, because we know they've got some great defensive linemen there, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. You go down the list, they've got some great players, but also they run stunts at a higher rate than anybody else in the NFL. 50% of their plays, Ella, flip a coin, they're running a stunt. It is insane how often they are running these stunts and these twists and these games against opposing offensive lines. For comparison's sake, the Eagles are 12%. So we've seen some of the sacks that Hassan Reddick has had, some of the big plays, some of the big hits that Fletcher Cox has had coming off those stunts. The Eagles are at 12%, the Cowboys at 50%. So that just shows how often they are running those stunts. And so in order to combat that, you need communication along the offensive line. So you don't want to have backups in there that are unfamiliar with each other. Having Jordan Mailata in the lineup, Jason Kelsey, Landon Dickerson, Isaac Seumalo, Lane Johnson, everybody in there healthy, starting this game, that's a huge starting point for this Eagles offense.
As we look into the Dallas secondary, there's only one Trayvon Diggs on the field, but there are multiple weapons for Hurts to target through the air. Diggs and these wide receivers are going to be a great matchup to watch tonight. And when you think about all the conversations we've had through 5 weeks about this Eagles offense, when you look at the defensive side, it's always pick your poison with this Eagles offense. And Trayvon Diggs is going to have to do that here tonight, Fran.
Yeah, I think this is the only offense in the entire NFL that has 3 pass catchers with over 100 yards. When you you look at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. So from a defensive standpoint, how do they match up? Well, this is easier than most weeks, Ella, because when you watch the Dallas Cowboys, they don't travel their corners. They don't move Trayvon Diggs around. They don't move Anthony Brown around. He is going to play as the right corner, Trayvon Diggs. Number 7, he's going to be lined up to the offensive left side. And then you look at Anthony Brown, he's going to be lined up on the offensive right side. So if you want to throw away from Trayvon Diggs, well, you just go the opposite direction. You're going to throw over to the right side of the field. And so that's something to watch here in this game. The other thing to watch, though, if the Eagles can protect, and the Rams showed that they're willing to do this last week. They tried to attack downfield with those shot plays. Couldn't protect against that defensive line. If the Eagles can protect, those double moves, lethal against this Dallas secondary.
You mentioned Dallas Goedert. The Cowboys defense is going to have a game plan in order for Dallas Goedert tonight. 5 yards short of 100 last week. He's playing at the top of the league among tight ends and in some categories among wide receivers. The threat he presents after the catch, opposing offenses, they need a clear plan for his attack.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Dallas Goedert right now is leading the NFL, leading wide receivers and tight ends in yards after catch. Just an outrageous stat from this Eagles tight end. And I think, to me, looking at this matchup against the Cowboys don't play base defense, Ella. They live in sub-package. Their base defense, quote-unquote, is going to be with 3 safeties on the field. Now, look, I'm just saying this from a pure, looking at this from an analysis standpoint. I don't know how the Cowboys are going to match up to Dallas Goedert, not just from a pass-catching standpoint, but when they're in their run game, the Eagles play with 2 tight ends on the field and 12 personnel. If the Cowboys go out there with 5 DBs, the Eagles are going to run the ball right through that unit. So I'm excited to see what changes Dallas tries to make. I think I can count on 2 hands how often they've played with 3 linebackers on the field so far this season. That is a huge matchup advantage here for this Eagles offense.
Now, last Sunday, the Eagles offensive line felt like a revolving door, Fran. We saw Landon Dickerson tap out. We saw Jason Kelce tap out. We saw Suo Peta go in. Cam Jurgens go in. Jack Driscoll was the starting left tackle. We mentioned the health of this offensive line. It couldn't be more crucial than for a night like tonight when you consider how lethal the Dallas defense has been up front.
Yeah, you've got 2 big names there, obviously, in Parsons and Lawrence, but so much depth along this Dallas defensive line. They are very athletic. They're very versatile. You get into second and long, into third down, they get a lot of speed on the field. They lead the NFL right now in pressure percentage. They are going to pepper Jalen Hurts tonight on his dropbacks. And so Jalen Hurts has to be ready for it. The running backs have to be ready for it. They don't blitz. That's not their game plan. They blitz less than the Eagles do. It's all 4-man rush. It's all those stunts. You've got to be ready for their speed, but you know that defensive line, look, they haven't seen a group like the Eagles offensive front. This is their biggest test to date, but they're still going to get theirs. They're going to get those rushes where they get home to Jalen Hurts. Jalen has to make them pay. Don't create negative plays. Obviously, the sacks are bad. Turnovers are worse. Don't turn the ball over. That was a mistake the Rams made last week against this defense.
Micah Parsons leading the NFL with 24 quarterback pressures, 6 sacks, tied for most in the NFL. And they've thrived defensively from that pass rushing standpoint, like we talked about. Lane Johnson discussed their playmakers and the challenge they'll present here tonight.
I mean, they just got tremendous pass rushers. DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, those guys. So usually they're getting home with 4 guys. So, that's a defense coordinator's dream, is to get home with guys like that. So, yeah, like I said, we got a tremendous amount of respect for those guys, and, it's going to be a tough challenge for us.
Now, as we flip to the other side of the football and bring in the Eagles' defensive starters, Fran, this is where I think the mismatch comes in here tonight. The Eagles' defense against the Cowboys' offense. A big advantage I see for this Eagles' defense is the defensive line against an inexperienced, banged-up Cowboys' offensive line.
I think to me, and Ella, from watching games with me over the last couple of years, I chart third down every single week. I think it's the most important down in football. That's not breaking news to anybody. The Cowboys' offense, awful on third down with Cooper Rush in the game. The Eagles' defense on third down, one of the best in the league. In fact, when you look at their 3-and-out rate, second best in football right now. They do an outstanding job at forcing short drives from opposing offenses. If the Eagles can get to third down, I think that percentage is only going to rise here in this game. If the Eagles can win third down, I think that will be a huge advantage for them in this football game.
Look, Cooper Rush, yes, he is undefeated. He's 4-0 as the Cowboys' starting quarterback, and you have to give him and the staff a lot of credit credit for that, but Cooper Rush has done exactly what they needed to do in the absence of Dak Prescott. He's won football games. He hasn't been the reason that they've lost. They fortunately have a good defense that has kept them hanging around and keeps them in the game week in and week out. But tonight's a different story when you're facing this Eagles defense. It's another week, another big-time receiver for the Eagles secondary to have to worry about. Tonight, it's CeeDee Lamb. He's been targeted 50 times this season, so when you talk about Cooper Rush, this is his number one guy. And so if the Eagles secondary is able to take him out of the equation, it's going to be a long night for the Cowboys.
It's been like a weekly discussion we've had, right? Is how are the Eagles going to contain Marquise Brown and Justin Jefferson and Christian Kirk every single week, and the secondary always responds to the challenge. This week's test, number 88, CeeDee Lamb. Don't let him beat you in the pass game. The return of Avonte Maddox certainly helps in that department, Ella, but I think at the end of the day, this is the Eagles secondary trying to keep CeeDee Lamb from creating those explosive plays.
You also have to look out for the intermediate passes from Cooper Rush. He leads the NFL in highest passer rating when he throws into that intermediate part of the field. Now the Eagles defense, they allow the lowest passer rating when targeting the intermediate area of the field. So for the defense, this is where they're going to thrive. So can Cooper Rush find different targets? Can he have a different approach? Can he extend past the intermediate part of the football field? We're going to find that out here tonight.
Yeah, and I think to me, it goes down to the guys up front for the Eagles. If they can win some of those one-on-one matchups, whether it's Hassan Reddick going up against the right tackle, Terrence Steele, Josh Sweat working against Tyler Smith, Javon Hargrave working against Connor McDermott. All of those one-on-one matchups, the Eagles have found ways to create some wins there in recent weeks. Every play, every drop back, you can't double team everybody. So if you're left one-on-one as an Eagles defensive lineman here tonight in prime time, you got to find a way to get that win, get home, and affect Cooper Rush.
Now the Cowboys have quite the combo in the backfield in Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. The Eagles linebackers are going to have their hands full today. But the way TJ Edwards and Kaiser White have been playing, they could be instrumental in limiting Dallas's rushing attack, Fran.
Yeah, I think it's big because look, the Dallas, they want to be able to run the football. They're 5th right now in run rate. They're 4th right now in run rate on first down. They want to run the football. They know they want to try and protect the backup quarterback, Cooper Rush. The problem is they're running at a high volume, but they're not running it super well. They're really reliant right now on those explosive plays. They got one last week with a 57-yard touchdown run from Tony Pollard. They're trying to live on those big plays. He is their big play threat right now out of the backfield. Ezekiel Elliott, he's going to have to try and tap into some of those previous versions of himself against the Eagles. We know, Ella, he always finds a way to have a big game here against their division rival.
And he hasn't had over 100 rushing yards in a game since week 5 of 2021. That's the longest streak in his career. Like you said, he always he flips a different switch when he plays the Eagles. So it'll be interesting to see what he does today. And you have to consider that the Cowboys are 2nd worst at reaching the red zone this season. 71% of their scoring has been through field goals. So for the Cowboys tonight, Fran, they're going to have to do more than kick field goals to beat the Eagles.
That's the thing, and you said it at the top of this discussion, is that this is the big mismatch, right? The Eagles defense going up against this Cowboys offense. If the Eagles are able to limit them on 3rd down, don't give up the cheap explosive play to Tony Pollard. Don't let CeeDee Lamb beat you over the top. It's going to be tough for Dallas to put up 21, 24, 28 points. That's going to be tough sledding against this Eagles defense the way they've been playing so far this season.
We know Eagles fans will show up tonight. There's no doubt about that. Here's what linebacker Sean Bradley had to say about his expectations of this home crowd.
I expect it to be electric, loud, crazy as usual. I mean, we got the best fans in the world, of course. Last week was unbelievable. Felt like we was at a home game, so I'm expecting this game to be 10 times more crazy and loud.
How about this, Eagles fans? The Birds are 5 for 5 in weekly league honors. Kicker Cameron Dicker was added to the list after his Week 5 performance against the Cardinals. I don't know if anybody could have predicted this, Fran.
Yeah, and especially the fact that they haven't had one on offense yet. I mean, Jalen Hurts wins the Offensive Player of the Month in the month of September. They've had three players go for over 100 yards receiving, but they just haven't had that Player of the Week. We'll see if that can change here in week number 6.
5 straight weeks. Let's see if they can go for number 6, Fran. As we zoom out and we look at this matchup as a whole, what are your 3 things to watch?
Well, number 1, I think it goes back to the run game. I think if you're able to run the football on this Dallas defense, it'll really go a long way towards a victory. I'm thinking along the lines of what the Eagles have done to like the New Orleans Saints over the last couple of years. Create those big plays, 250 plus yards, 4 touchdowns. We know those legendary performances that this Eagles defense or this Eagles offense is capable of. Then you look at the stunts. I talked about the communication that is necessary for Jordan Mailata all the way over to Jason Peters. Everybody's got to be aware of what's going to be coming to you from a pressure standpoint. And then the last point, get to Cooper Rush, make him uncomfortable, make him sweaty in the pocket, make him try and put the offense on his back. If the Eagles can do that, if they can get him on the ground 3, 4, 5 times in this game, they don't even necessarily need to be sacks. Pressures that turn into turnovers, you do that, you're coming away with a W in this game.
And you have to know that the crowd is going to have something to do with the performance here tonight. It's hard to deny. The Phillies are going to the NLCS. The Eagles are undefeated. The Cowboys are in town. It's going to be wild at the Link tonight.
Yeah, Joel Embiid's in the house. Woo! I know there'll be some local athletes. If they show the Phillies up there on the big board, I'm sure some of those guys are in the house tonight. So it's going to be a fun atmosphere across the street.
Would you say that there's some pressure on this Eagles offense here tonight? The Cowboys are coming in. They're not allowing over 20 points per game. So it is a big challenge for the Eagles offense. Do you think they're feeling a little pressure?
I don't think that it's going to necessarily be pressure, because at the end of the day, you're just going to go in and do your job. Do what you've done all season long. We know that this team, it's not always going to be pretty going up against a defense of this quality. But at the end of the day, you trust the process in terms of, hey, we know that if we don't fail, or if we fail on this drive, we can come back and try something different and find success. Hey, if the pass game's not clicking, let's run the ball. Run game's not going, let's try and throw it to Dallas Goedert. We could try the deep ball. We could try the screen game. Let's get the RPO game going. The Eagles have so many weapons, so I think that kind of alleviates some of that pressure, because if one thing's not working, we've got option B, C, D, E, go right down the line. A lot of tools in the toolbox for this offense.
We're looking at Boston Scott finally back in a uniform. Good to see him take the field, hopefully, here tonight, because he adds such a dynamic asset to this running game. You have Miles Sanders, who's been leading the group, but when you factor in Kenny Gainwell, what Boston Scott can do, it's an asset. It's something that the Eagles hopefully will lean into here tonight.
Yeah, you know what's weird is that Boston Scott, you wouldn't think it, but I love his presence in the red zone, not just as a runner between the tackles, where he's so hard to get a hand on. He's able to hide behind those offensive linemen, get downhill, find that crease, and get into the end zone. But we also know what he can do as a pass catcher as well. Those hands, so reliable, even in traffic. I'm excited to see what Boston can bring. We know the damage he can do in the NFC East against the Giants. We'll see if he can replicate that in this game against the Cowboys.
The Giant Killer. Let's see what damage he can do tonight. Well, Boston Scott suiting up. So is Avonte Maddox. He missed 2 games. What does he add when you put him back into the secondary, Fran?
Well, in one word, I think it's the communication. I think at the end of the day, when you look at what they were missing with Maddox out of the lineup the last 2 games, he was just such an integral part to the defensive success the first 3 weeks. Because when you see how those guys are executing in zone defense, you talked about that stat earlier, Ella. The Eagles defense, the best in the league right now at defending the pass in the middle of the field. Well, Avonte Maddox, he's in charge of dealing with linebackers in coverage. He's in charge of dealing with safeties in coverage, with corners in coverage. The way that he's able to communicate with all the guys around him, he does such an excellent job. He is a glue guy through and through on that back 7. Having him back in the lineup, big here going up against CeeDee Lamb in this Dallas pass game.
We talked earlier in the show about the clean football both of these teams have been playing, 2 takeaways apiece. If a defense can get the ball away, I think that is, I'm sorry, I have to stop this conversation to take note of Brandon Graham greeting Jason Peters, who won a Super Bowl here in Philadelphia. I had to bring attention to that because he played many years at the Link, and it's kind of weird to see him in a Cowboys uniform. Back to the point I was trying to make about clean football, Fran. If a defense can take the football away from an opposing offense, that could be a game changer here tonight. That's a momentum shift. That's something that defenses want, get their offense back on the field. And knowing both of these teams aren't really coughing it up, that could be something to watch tonight.
Division games always come down to a couple of plays, some individual moments, and there's some randomness associated with that. Sometimes it could be a fumble that bounces your way, and you have to be able to capitalize on those moments. And there's some randomness involved, like I said. But so if you're the Eagles, you have to try and win that turnover battle, and then also the explosive plays. And the Eagles right now, they're one of the best in the league at preventing, and they're one of the best in the league, the best in the league at creating those explosive plays. To me, that's the mismatch in this game. That's where they're able to capitalize against this Dallas defense. Yeah, they can create some turnovers, but they're willing to give up some of those big plays as well. The Eagles defense right now, that has not been the case so far through the first 5 games.
You talk about capitalizing, and I think that's a huge area of improvement we've seen from this year's team against the 2021 team. The 2021 team, they could get some takeaways, but their offense couldn't capitalize. When the ball was put back in their hands, they just couldn't march down the field and score. But we've seen a difference in that. James Bradbury, 2 interceptions so far this season. And anytime one of those defenders gets the ball back, the Eagles find a way to get that ball in the end zone.
James Bradbury getting his hands on the football. Kaiser White deflecting passes up in the air.
Yep.
Hassan Reddick getting the ball on the ground, leading the league in forced fumbles so far. So you have guys that can create the big play. And that's something that I think this defense was missing a year ago. Because I referenced that 3-and-out stat. The Eagles were really high in 3-and-out percentage last year as well. But the difference was you didn't have enough of those negative plays, the sacks, the turnovers, the forced fumbles, just finding ways to get the offense off their rhythm. I think that's been a big difference now between 2021 and 2022 for this Eagles defense.
There's so much talk around this team and being undefeated, of course, but we all know that there's now a target on their back. We've been talking about it for the past few weeks. The Cowboys want this one for more reasons than one. They want to take down the sole unbeaten team in the NFL. And so I kind of did some research this week, and I was looking into the players on this team who had a lot of success in college. Jalen Hurts, he lost 2 games in 2 years as a starter at Alabama. Of course, you have Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis, who won a national championship on an undefeated team last year. So I went to them. I said, how does that help you in the NFL and your maturity when you're sitting in a locker room and you're 5-0? And they were like, been there, done that. They know how to handle it, right? They haven't done it at the NFL level, but Jordan Davis told me they just have that championship mentality.
Yeah, it's like it's a different story, but it's so similar. Remember you, Ike, and I last week, we were talking about that on the post-game show. Nick Sirianni showing the team the Cameron Dicker highlights from Oklahoma, Texas.
Yes.
Is like the guys that have that winner's mentality, that have that experience, they know what it takes to get to the winner's circle. That is a mentality that is tough to come by at times. And so the Eagles, on all 3 sides of the football, they look for guys that bring that to the table.
Well, with that, we're going to head over to the link where Eagles insider Dave Spadaro joins us. Dave, we've seen the Eagles offense through 5 games. What is the personality of this group heading into tonight's big game?
Ella, great to be here. Great atmosphere here. You referenced it earlier. You're right. It is off the chain. It's really electric. It's just incredible here. The Eagles offense, I think the one word that comes to mind, and I think Nick Sirianni has talked about this a lot, is physical. The Eagles know, and we saw it in the last drive last week in Arizona, that they can drive the ball down the field behind that big, strong offensive line. And I think tonight, while we have just talked all week about Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and the pass rush that Dallas brings to the table, I think you'll see the Eagles look to establish that physical nature early in this game, establish the run. And I do think that A.J. Brown will have a lot of opportunities tonight. But I think, to answer the question, it is the personality of physical play that also wants to be explosive. But when you know you can run the football, that's the bread and butter of this Eagles offense, running the ball and being physical.
What's going to be the answer? You mentioned the run game, you mentioned A.J. Brown, but for the Eagles to secure a win tonight, what's it going to take?
I mean, look, they can't let Micah Parsons ruin them, right? And think about, when's the last time Jeff Stoutland allowed a defensive presence to take over the line of scrimmage? Certainly they're going to move Parsons up and down the line of scrimmage. They're going to try to find that weakness. Is it Landon Dickerson? Is it Jason Kelsey? Where are they going to bring Micah Parsons? But I really feel like the Eagles can negate that and take him out. And the key here is this, though. The Cowboys have been living off catastrophic plays. Last week in Los Angeles, they get a fumble recovery. They return it for a touchdown. They block a punt. They turn that into a field goal. Avoid the catastrophic plays. Be patient on offense. Make the Cowboys offense work on a long field. Make Cooper Rush win in 3rd and long situations. That's my formula for winning, for the Eagles to get to 6-0 tonight.
Dave, before you go, I have to ask you about the atmosphere. You said off the chain, but it looks like it's packed behind you already, and kickoff's still a little bit away.
It's been more packed on the sideline tonight I can ever remember, with Joel Embiid, with celebrities. We've got a special coin toss participant here. I mean, it really is a star-studded night here at Lincoln Financial Field. And look, Philadelphia is on fire right now. The energy continues in South Philadelphia as everyone looking for a perfect completion to a great sports weekend.
Well, I'll send you back into the mayhem, Dave. He'll be joining us later on in the post-game show. This week, our social team created a mini mic segment where players shared the weirdest thing in their lockers. Here's this week's social spotlight presented by Ponley Hockey.
What's the weirdest thing in your locker?
The weirdest? Probably some shea butter.
James Ballberry, like balls.
Hey, he's probably the one teammate I don't like.
This.
I have no clue who these are, where they came from, how they got here. It's the first time I've ever seen this joint.
You got some dirty drawers in there somewhere.
A lot of dirty shit in there.
Oh yeah, Tony the Tiger. My sock, I got a little dirty sock collection.
Everything's football related. All the weird stuff's in my house. I'll tell you what is weird. A bunch of lanyards for no reason. Never know when you need a lanyard.
I ain't got no weird in my the bobblehead, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't really got anything weird. Right. Like Play-Doh? Therapy Play-Doh.
Probably this candle. I don't know why I have it, honestly.
I got this clothes and cleats. I'm old school. Gohan, you know what I'm saying? New form. You got my boy Piccolo, new form. And I wish our world was like Dragon Ball Z because I'd be the strongest one in the world, easily, by far.
The Kickoff Show is delivered by Little Caesars, proud partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Order online during the Pizza pregame and get it delivered or pick up in store in the Pizza portal. Pizza. All right, Fran, we're getting closer to kickoff. What's your Rico extra point?
Well, the last time the Eagles played on prime time, what was the big discussion? It was how are they going to stop Justin Jefferson? We talked about it here on the show, and I said there's a lot of different ways you try and stop a talent like Justin Jefferson. Well, the same thing applies for stopping a guy like Micah Parsons. We just heard Dave talk about it there in his hit. There's a lot of different answers to do it. Micah Parsons this year playing mostly as a defensive end, not as much as a linebacker. He'll mix in a little bit there, but he's mostly going to line up against Lane Johnson, against the right tackle. And for me, that's the big starting point. Every team, 31 teams in the league would love to just say, hey, you know what? Let's just take number 65 and let's just put him one-on-one in pass protection against Micah Parsons. Great starting point here for the Eagles offense. Other teams don't have that luxury. But there are other things you could do to give Lane some help. You could slide protection that way, make it 3 versus 2. You can use the running back in chip help. I've seen Micah Parsons struggle with chip blocks out of the backfield. You can keep the tight end in at times, 6-man protection. You might not like to do that all the time with Dallas Goedert, but that's a tool in the toolbox. You can run at Micah Parsons, not just with the run game, but play action his direction. Run at him. That's a way that teams have found success. You can choose not to block him at all and use the RPO zone read action and try and throw him off his game that way. Make him wrong with whatever he decides to do off the ball. You can also prey on his aggressiveness. Get him upfield, hit him with the draws, hit him with the screens. That's something teams do against aggressive defensive lines all the time. The Cowboys have seen a ton of these screens. So at the end of the day, there are a lot of different ways you can get after Micah Parsons. He's one of the best defensive players in football, Ella. There's no getting around it. He's aggressive. He's athletic. He's explosive. He's versatile. He's violent. You can throw all the terms in there, but he is not perfect. You can attack Micah Parsons in coverage. You can attack him as a pass rusher. You can attack him as a run defender. The Eagles will have answers to this question tonight. I'm excited to see it play out.
Well, the Eagles are undefeated, and Fran stays undefeated on the Rico extra point. That was off the chain.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave?
Thank you.
That was off the chain. Well, before we go, we wanted to share the players' message to fans ahead of tonight's game.
What up? It's Dallas week.
I'm so excited for Sunday night. I know y'all gonna have this place rocking.
Hey, I already know. I ain't gotta tell y'all. Y'all gonna be loud already.
Excited to see y'all Sunday night against the Cowboys. Let's get it rocking.
We ready. Hope y'all ready too for Sunday, man.
Let's go be loud, turn up all night. We got y'all back. Let's go.
Please bring the juice, bring the noise.
We gonna be in that building. Y'all gonna be in that building on Sunday night.
Can't wait to see y'all at the link.
And always remember, go Birds, baby.
EAGLES, Eagles. Let's go.
Oh, look who we have here.
Oi, mighty. Go Birds.
Jordan Squared. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
You heard them. You better show up, Eagles fans. Be sure to join myself, Fran Duffy, and Ike Reese on the post-game show. Immediately following the game, we'll deliver all you need to know from the link. This is it. What Philly fandom is all about. Eagles, Cowboys fighting it out in prime time. What's Jonathan Gannon have cooked up for Cooper Rush? Can Jalen Hurts put on a show? It's about to get real. Thanks for watching, and go Birds.
Stop till the clock runs out. Living on the edge is what it's all about. We gon' start a fire just to watch it burn. And nights like this make the world turn. Let's go.